All right, welcome to the All American Hoops Podcast, episode 21. I'm your host, Chris Driscoll, and as per usual, I'm joined by my older brother, John Driscoll.
Hey, H, thanks for having me on, man.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, our younger brother, Matt, couldn't make it today. It's finals week. One thing I don't miss about college at all is having to grind out all that work. John's still
His finals week.
Finals week. That's right. Yeah. His finals week. That's right. Yeah. We would say we usually try not to get him too upset, but since he's not on screen, we're fine with bringing it up this time around since we can't really see him get upset. But yeah, that was always the one thing that that was always kind of annoying around finals time was it was right around the time of the NBA playoffs, and now you have to focus on all this work. So super unfortunate for Matt, but he'll be back definitely sooner, if not next week, then certainly the week after that. But big show today. Obviously, a ton happened from last week. We dove into every series last week, and we'll do that even more today, given how much happened over the weekend, especially over the weekend, I should say, and also had a big night last night as well. But yeah, the way that we're going to order the show is we'll first talk about all the series that have ended, and then right after that, we'll talk about the series that are either in danger or very close to finishing off, and then we'll also talk about the two series in the end that are evened up. So to start off, we'll talk about one of the two series that ended in a sweep, and that's the Timberwolves versus the Suns. And obviously the Wolves swept the Suns in what was a pretty brutal fashion, and some people had the Suns winning. It wasn't a ton of people, but it was enough because obviously when you have Kevin Durant, who's debatably a top 5 player in the league, and even if you don't consider him top 5 now, he's been one of the 3 best players of our generation, I'd say, besides LeBron and Steph. And whether you like KD or not, whether you like Devin Booker or not, it was definitely an interesting series to look at. So, John, did you have any takeaways from either the Suns or the Wolves, or I guess a combination of both?
Yeah, I think when we talked about kind of our bracket when we started this podcast, we all had the Timberwolves winning, but in like 6 or 7. And we mentioned a couple times that this was going to be one of the best series in the playoffs. And unfortunately, it didn't turn out like that. I think a lot of us kind of relied that take on not Bradley Beal, I guess him, but mostly Devin Booker and Kevin Durant showing up and playing well. And they did have some good moments individually, but overall, obviously I know the discourse right now around the Timberwolves is how great Anthony Edwards played, and he did play amazing. He played great, but I think it's kind of flying under the radar how good Cat played. He had a really, really great series. And so I think the Timberwolves, they took care of business. I think they're going into a Nuggets series with a ton of momentum. I think I don't want to, jinx us again, but I think that's going to be one of the best series of the playoffs. I think 2 of the best teams in the West, if not the 2 best teams in the West. Really looking forward to it. But just to touch on the Suns really quick, Kevin Durant averaged 16.5 shots per game in this series. Kevin Durant. And, Bradley Beal averaged, I think it was like 14.75. And I just think that's ridiculous. I don't know if that's on Vogel. I don't know who that's on. I don't know but it's just unfortunate. I think that when you have somebody like Kevin Durant, he's got to be putting up in a playoff series 22, 23 shots a game. And I credit to the Minnesota Timberwolves for making the Suns beat them without Kevin Durant, because that's exactly what they did.
Yeah, definitely agree with all that. Who do you blame? Do you blame Beal or Booker? Do you blame Durant for not being aggressive enough? Do you blame Frank Vogel for not scheming up a common routine? And I, for one, blame the it's kind of a cop out, which I'm usually pretty anti this, but I blame the front office. You got to have a playmaker on your team to get you shots. Kevin Durant should be finding his own shots, which he did. He was very efficient this series. He had a great scoring series for sure. Just should have increased his volume a little bit. And that was but also another thing is obviously the Timberwolves are the best defense in the league, and it showed this series. Obviously, everyone's looking forward to both Booker and KD are both debatable. I would say heading into the season, they're both debatable top 5 scorers in the league, maybe closer to top 10 now. Um, but but yeah, like when you have an elite defense going up against two elite scorers, it's pretty tough to determine. But however, when those two elite scorers don't have a playmaker, it's going to be pretty tough to what do you call it? So yeah, it's gonna be pretty tough to actually move past that. And I know, yeah, KD got into that argument with all those Twitter guys over the summer about how offense wins championships, which you do need offense to win a championship. I think like I don't have the numbers in front of me, but pretty much every team in the past 40, 50 years or so has had a top 10 offense and defense. So both offense and defense does win championships. But obviously you don't have playmaking and you don't have defense. So yes, you do need volume scorers. You need players to find their own shots, but there's a formula to winning, and part of that formula it is getting others involved. So, which we just didn't see a ton of this series. Yeah, but yeah, John, you touched a little bit on Frank Vogel. So that's one of the things that the Suns are looking at now. Are they going to hold on to him? Are they going to fire him? I know that Shams tweeted out that they're looking to run it back with the core. So does that mean they're going to hold on to the core and get rid of Vogel? So, but what do you think they either should do, or what are they going to do?
I mean, I think that it's always so easy to blame the coach, right? And especially a coach of a team that has individually talented guys such as KD and Devin Booker and Bradley Beal. I think we mentioned this on the podcast with Dells and Riv. Like, this core does not work. It doesn't make sense. It did not make sense from the jump. We related it to the Nets core when they shipped away all their depth for James Harden, and that didn't work because that's not really what the league is anymore. The league is, 2 stars surrounded by guys who, solid role players. And we kind of gave the Nets a little bit of a pass because, you can't really fault them at the time for giving up their role players for James Harden. James Harden was coming off, historical seasons, but you gave up a ton of depth and made a ton of room for Bradley Beal, who, let's keep it real, he does not have a history of winning. He is a kind of guy who, very talented, individual offensive player, but he's not going to lead you to a championship as a number 3 option. I don't think his game really translates to that number 3. I think he can be a number 1 on a lesser seed team. But I think the problem isn't Vogel. Yeah, sure. Like you mentioned, he definitely could have schemed up a little bit more stuff for KD, got him more involved. But at the end of the day, I think coaches kind of just turn into a scapegoat. And I think that this core does not work, and you could replace Vogel with Pop, and they would not win a championship next year.
Yeah, it's literally any time that a team of stars underachieves. Obviously, the stars usually get more slammed than the coaches, but however, people are less willing to move on from stars than coaches, which justifiably. Yeah, but as you said, like anyone, Phil Jackson, Pop, Steve Kerr, they couldn't bring this team to the finals, and I don't know if they're going to fire him. Some coaches that do come to mind. I know that Charles Lee is interviewing with Hornets now. I'm imagining that they're going to offer him the job, or either him or whoever wins before the Suns even start looking, just because obviously they don't want to lose any time there. Our guy Sam Cassell, he would be missed in the locker room for sure, but hopefully, so hopefully they don't steal him there. But I just can't really imagine anyone else. And we mentioned up front, the front office is their problem. And if they want to run it back again, if you really don't think you can move on from any of those 3 players, it's kind of understandable. But I think first things first, you should try to move Beal. But issue is when you have a player who has like such a massive contract and it's not really tradable, front offices make the contract more tradable by attaching some assets to the contract so people can at least get some future draft picks. They don't have future draft picks. They traded away all their picks. They traded away a good amount of their swaps. They have just a few second-round picks, and Bradley Beal for a few second-round picks isn't really attractive. I don't know which team would want to go after him. Like maybe the Heat's. Like if Jimmy Butler were healthy in this series and the Heat got swept, maybe the Heat would consider moving off some of the guys so they can bring in another star. I don't know. I don't know of any team that would benefit from Bradley Beal, because I know that you said that Bradley Beal couldn't be the third option on a championship, and I don't think he can either. But the only way he could be the third option, like on a contender, would be is if it was like a top 3 or 4 player, and and like someone, and like maybe like another top 20-ish player, but those players would have to play differently. Like you should have like both like either a playmaker or a big. You had 3 isolation scorers as your three best players. That is not winning basketball.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the comment section right now. Good point. He does have a no trade clause, so Beal can say no if you want to ship him off to, a team that isn't appealing to him. So that makes it even harder for Phoenix to move away from him. I did have a quick question for you though. Is there a team that's not we talked about how the Suns obviously played poorly. They ran into a very good Minnesota number 3 seed. So that does stink. I get it. But is there a team in the West that isn't the New Orleans Pelicans that the Suns would have beaten in the first round? I don't think there is.
They would have gotten smoked by the Lakers, and I think because given the way that the Lakers pushed against the Nuggets, they would have gotten smoked by them. Maybe the Clippers, given that they've been playing pretty poorly. I don't. Yeah, I think the Luke. Yeah, how Luka does against the Suns. He would have smoked them too. So yeah, the Pelicans definitely. Maybe the Clippers. No one else. Yeah, they wouldn't have a shot against anyone else.
Yeah. So I mean, it's the core. I truly think that, and
yeah.
I don't think the coach maybe with better coach you win one game, but you definitely don't win the series.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, but as you mentioned. We got Timberwolves Nuggets next series. But we'll talk about that right after we talk about how the Nuggets did in this series, and that is the Nuggets gentlemen swept the Lakers. The Lakers were able to get out a pretty solid win Saturday night's game 4. And then they really fought. They played a really great game for like the first half, 2.5 quarters. But then the Nuggets really fought back. Jamal Murray with yet again another game-winning shot. This one was at the buzzer. It was at 3 seconds with 3 seconds left when the Lakers had no timeout, so it was close to thing to a buzzer beater. But yeah, I don't know what to take away from the Nuggets this series, because I think I can look at it in one of 2 ways. Either that they haven't been really playing that well and they aren't as unbeatable as people thought they were. The Lakers are the 7th seed, and you can argue that they're not the true 7th seed because they're because obviously you have 2 top 10 players in the starting lineup and everything. But essentially, the Lakers were leading for 87% of the series, and they still lost. So you can either call the Nuggets getting lucky this series, or you can look at this and say, holy crap, the Nuggets played awful this series and they still won. So that's kind of the way that I'm looking at it, is that this team is really scary and we haven't even seen the best of them yet. But I don't know how you're looking at the Nuggets or how you looked at the series in general.
Yeah, I think that it's interesting, and I kind of relate this series a little bit to the Knicks Sixers series that we'll talk about later. But the reason I say that, I think that Lakers fans and Sixers fans are looking at that game 2 and really, you choked away a golden opportunity to either even up the series, or, the series could turn out in a number of different ways if you pick off one of those first 3 games. I think with the Lakers, they kind of messed around in the regular season and they got that 7 seed. They earned that 7 seed. And that's what happens if you're not going to take the regular season seriously. If you're not going to perform at a high level in the regular season, you're going to get matched up with a good team in the Denver Nuggets. I agree with you that I don't think the Nuggets really played excellent. I think Michael Porter Jr. had a great series. Jokic was Jokic. Jamal Murray made, clutch bucket after clutch bucket. I think in looking at the Nuggets, I agree that they can get better. But I will say, after watching this full series, the Nuggets in clutch time are better than any team I have remembered in a while. They are dominant in the clutch. And no matter how you play for the first 3.5 quarters, if you can hone in and get bucket after bucket and stop after stop, That's what wins playoff games. That's what wins playoff series, and that's what wins championships. So, while they didn't play to the standard that everyone holds them to, I mean, they won 4-1. They took care of business, and
Yeah.
they got a lot of experience in the clutch, which I think is understated and undervalued. So I think Nuggets, as impressive as the Timberwolves were, the Nuggets are still the team to beat in the West. Personally, I think so.
Yeah. And yeah, when you said you can't think of another team that was as good as them in the clutch, neither can I. Like even like the 2017 Warriors, they weren't that great in the clutch. They were just so dominant. Um, Not really many teams that I can think of. Shout out the 2018 Celtics. They always seem to squeak out wins down the stretch. But yeah, that was a joke, obviously. But the only teams that I can think about in sports that were clutch were the Tom Brady Pats again, like the mid 2010s and the current Chiefs. Those are the only teams in any sport. Like any basketball teams, I can't think of another team besides the Nuggets that find a way to squeeze out wins. And yeah, I don't know. Who knows? Yeah, I don't want to say they weren't trying in the first half, but you could say messing around a little bit because they were clearly the better team than the Lakers. But it seems like they were in a dogfight for a good amount. So you can either say the Lakers. I can either say the Lakers are better than I thought they were, or I can also say the Nuggets are a little worse than I thought they were, or as I said, they just haven't been playing the best. So only time will tell there. I think the Wolves are going to be the best team they play in the West. I think they're better than all three of the teams, all the other three teams remaining. And then we'll see who they play in the finals. Hopefully it'll be our Celtics. But yeah, as of now, I think the Wolves will be the best team they play, at least in the next month or so. But yeah, we can talk about what's next for the Lakers because the couple rumblings going around. Of course, anytime that LeBron is either on a contract, even when LeBron isn't like even when LeBron's contract isn't up, something always comes up. But especially now, Brian Windhorst reported that he is most likely to opt out of his contract and become a free agent for the first time since 2018 when he left Cleveland to join the Lakers. I don't know your take on this, John, but I do think that LeBron's going to stay in LA. I just think that this is where his life is now. He's still like, I know that Bronny's older now and he's joining the NBA, but he still has kids that are still growing up. And yeah, even though basketball is a priority, because I do still think that he does have different priorities now. His businesses are here, as Coward said earlier today as well. But yeah, other than LeBron staying and them, and yeah, AD was extended over the offseason, so they won't trade him either. But I think that anything is up in the air for the Lakers. I don't know what you think, though.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think LeBron's going to stay in LA. I don't think he's ring chasing as much anymore. I don't think that's really a priority for him. I think if he wins a ring, that's just like icing on the cake. I think people on Twitter talk about him chasing Jordan. I think in his mind and in a lot of people's minds, he's past Jordan. So I don't think it's really a priority for him. I think that where he lives, I mean, I think he like bought property and tore down whatever was there and built his own dream house. I don't really see him moving away from that. Like you said, Bronny's probably going to go back to school at USC. His other son is in high school still, and I think he has a daughter too who's in school. So, granted, this could all change. He could go to Miami and team up with Jimmy Butler or whoever. I've seen a couple edits like that from Heat fans that are upset they're down 3-1. But yeah, I think if I were to be a betting man, I would say he's going to stay in LA and run it back with AD. Maybe they clear some space to bring in someone else, but I don't know.
Yeah. I would say like AD is 100% back to the Lakers next year. LeBron's, I think I'm saying LeBron's like 95% back. Other than that, most of their guys are on the books, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if they're going to trade. I don't know if they really can package anyone to bring in. I'm imagining at least one of, if not both of D'Lo and Reeves will be back. They signed a good amount of guys over the offseason, and which, by the way, I don't mean to go on an anti-LeBron rant here. This is an anti-LeBron fan rant here, by the way, not anti-LeBron. But if I have to hear Kendrick Perkins say one more time about how the Lakers won the offseason, and then after that talk about how much the Lakers didn't really do anything to improve the roster over the summer, I'm going to explode because I'm not going to blame LeBron for the series by any stretch. I think he played great, but can we chill on the whole the Lakers front office doesn't care about LeBron and they need to and they need to be better for him. They've done a good amount for LeBron and they've tried their best, but it just hasn't worked out at the end.
I don't even think the Lakers played horrible in this
No,
series.
not at all.
I just think they
No.
ran into the best team in the West. I think there are a number of teams you can make the argument that they could have beaten if they matched up with them. You know, you could say, let's run through the list. They definitely beat Phoenix, as you mentioned before. They could beat one of the Clippers or the Mavs. I won't say the Thunder because I think the Thunder took care of business. They had a really good first round. But I think they're not a poor team, and I don't think the Lakers front office has failed him. I mean, I don't know what other options they would have had.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but yeah, I guess the last thing I'll talk about with the Lakers is Darvin Ham. I do think that the Lakers being tired of Darvin Ham is a little more justifiable than the Suns with Frank Vogel. I don't think that Ham is a good coach, really. Like I don't think he's like people think he's like the 28th or 29th worst coach, like best coach in the league. I don't think he's that bad, but I also, based on what I heard last offseason from like a few of the reporters, is that the one thing that Darvin Ham was good at was getting players to buy into this role, but he wasn't really good at the X's and O's. After you get your players to buy into their roles, which is very, very important. Like Joe Mazzulla is great at that, and he got better at the X's and O's. Like I feel like he improved at both of those this year. It feels like Ham didn't really improve at either of those this year, and the players almost just got tired of him by the end of the season. So I don't know who the Lakers are looking after. I saw that one of their assistants is the favorite Currents. I saw a couple of names float around. As I mentioned, Sam Cassell is one of those names. Pretty sure LeBron was actually like 9th or 10th on that list as well. So I haven't really dug deep into the coaching positions, but I don't know how much the Lakers can improve there, but that'll be interesting to see.
I think Darvin Ham's an average, below average coach. I don't think he's horrible. I don't think he's great, but I also think that coaching LeBron James is one of the hardest things to do in the NBA. And that's not really a knock on LeBron. It's more just the fact he's a dominant force in the league, in the locker room, on the team. And I mean, you know, people forget the media was clamoring to fire Eric Spoelstra after that first year in Miami. But I think the Lakers do have to move on from him, but I don't think he's as bad as what people think.
I got into a couple arguments with people on TikTok over the weekend about someone posted a video about like how LeBron's certain head coaches, and they're just totally arousing issues because I mentioned how Spoelstra got slandered. It wasn't as much, but he got slandered a good amount. Ty Lue was so unpopular amongst LeBron fans; they hated him. And even LeBron told the media multiple times, "I love Ty Lue. I hope he comes back." And people were probably like, "They're like, oh no one ever slandered Lue. That is so far from it. Ty Lue was so slandered, and people thought the Clippers were idiots for hiring him as head coach. But he's done an awesome job there. They haven't achieved much, but he's made the most out of Kawhi and like the shell of Kawhi and the role players. So the coaching LeBron is hard, but we'll see which coach is going to be up for the task next. But we have one more series to talk about, which is over. Then we move on to the series that are still alive. So that's the Thunder versus the Pelicans. I feel like there's not really much to dive deep into here, which kind of feels like that it's caught out for me because I'm someone who was really low on the Thunder at the beginning of the year and entertained the idea of them losing the first round if they weren't the 1 seed. So I'll give my flowers to the Thunder. They've been awesome all season long. I think besides the Celtics, the only team that's top 5 in both offense and defense. Shea was awesome as well. But the Pelicans really couldn't do much, especially without Zion. So that's my takeaway in the series. I watched some of the series. I didn't watch the entire series though, like I did the other games.
Yeah, I think this was the series that I watched the least of. I think what we're seeing is the number 1 seed going up against the weakest team in the Western playoffs, given that they didn't have Zion Williamson. And I think Thunder took care of business. Good on them. They got a good matchup coming up between the winner of the Clippers and the Mavericks, I will say that anyone who has ever said that Brandon Ingram is Jason Tatum on a bad team uh, needs to take that take back and shove it up their butt, because what an awful take. If Jason Tatum was on this Pelicans team, he'd average 33 and they'd be a top 4 team in the West. But I mean, he had an awful series.
He's not even better than Jaylen Brown, and
No.
and I don't even think it's close. And I'm going to sidetrack a little bit, but yeah, people who said that after the Celtics signed Jaylen Brown to that big extension, they're like, oh no, we should just trade for Ingram instead. And I just can't wrap my head around it. Like, yeah, like I understand Ingram has been in far worse circumstances, but he also has had the chance to rise above, and he just hasn't. So, yeah, yeah, obviously, unfortunately, Ingram couldn't be there with the star, but they didn't put up a fight whatsoever. Like that's a lie, actually. Yeah, they put up a fight in game 1, but after that, they kind of just folded over. Yeah, not really much to dive into after that, but yeah, it'll be fun to see who the Thunder go up against, because I said either the Mavs or the Clippers were going to win. We're going to beat the Thunder in the first round. However, both of them have been playing awful. So, but we'll talk about those series at the end of the episode, though. Yeah, great. So now, yes, so 3 out of the 8 series are done. So now we'll move on to the series that are either almost over or we're about to see the biggest comeback ever. So we'll talk about the series which obviously the two of us have been focusing the most on. That's the Celtics Heat. They took a 3-1 lead last night against the Heat. It's been a common theme throughout for the Celtics. If they defend well, and I don't want to make their threes because it's been just mainly if they defend well. If they're not lazy on closeouts, they're the significantly better team, and that's especially with that Jimmy Butler. I still think they'd be taking care of business with Jimmy Butler, given how big all their wins have been, but especially with Jimmy Butler, they have been the much better team. So game 5 is tomorrow. Close it out. Do not mess around. Do not let what happened to the Hawks last year happen again. That's part of the reason that you lost last year, was like people seeing how easy you fold. Don't let that happen this year.
Yeah, I think last week we hopped on and the Celtics had only played 1 game. The day, right? This was the day before game 2.
Yes.
So, and then, we could talk about game 2. It took the Heat to hit a historical amount of threes at a almost 60% clip. I think we're seeing after these last 2 games, that was the outlier. And part of it is, yeah, they hit a crazy number of threes, but some of it comes down to lazy closeouts, daring guys to make threes, and they're doing it. And you see with guys like Caleb Martin or Jovic, if they get 1 or 2 in a row, they're like, they're microwave scorers. They see a couple fall and then they start to hit them more consistently. So if you consistently close out and make it hard on these guys to hit shots, I don't see an avenue where the Heat win. It's always been their Celtics game plan has always been about the math. Take a lot of threes, make a lot of threes. They haven't really made a lot of threes, but you're seeing with this Heat team, who I think is a lesser opponent, it almost doesn't matter the take and make threes aspect of it. If you defend consistently, you'll win. And I think tomorrow, like you said, they just have to take care of business. They don't need to, don't mess around. You have the opportunity to close out this game on your home court against the team that knocked you out of the playoffs last year. Come out with some fire. I did want to get your take on Porzingis. Tough loss. I read something that it's just like the Giannis injury.
Mm-hmm.
Same muscle. I don't know if it's the same kind of grade, but it's people are mentioning that it's a tough injury to come back from so quickly because it's connected somewhat to your Achilles. So you don't want to have like a weak muscle that's connected to that. But just want to get your take on that.
Yeah. I try to avoid Twitter doctors. I just try to I try to find the diagnosis and then look through it, or just get the reports back from what they say. But I would say rough estimates. Obviously, try not to rush him back. Obviously, it's the playoffs, so you want your best players on the court at all times. That being said, if you bring him back, you have to make sure that he's going to be the closest thing to 100%. So don't bring him back too quickly. And I made a TikTok about this right before we hopped on, but they should be able to win. So first of all, win Game 5. You should be able to win Game 5 without Porzingis. And I'll quickly hop on. You said win back with play with fire. I think that Bam Adebayo gave Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, and especially Al Horford, a ton of fire to win Game 5. So they just need to go out and just say, okay, we're thinking about you guys. We're going to beat the hell out of you, and then move on. And that's what I think they can do that, and then hopefully, and from then on out, just prioritize getting Porzingis healthy. They're playing either the Cavs or the Magic. The Cavs, they go double big, so that'd be a little bit of a loss there. But that being said, you could still spread the floor without Porzingis there. That's why Al's so great there. And then against the Magic, who Jonathan Isaac has been their starting center, so you can go small there. But yeah, just super unfortunate. Yeah, we always knew that this is something that could happen, but yeah, like it's just something that you really, it's always a surprise when it does happen. So I'm not crazy concerned, but because I do still think they can go far and even get the ring without him, depending on who they match up with, or because obviously anything can happen in the 7-game series. But yeah, it's just super unfortunate news. And I just really hope that that they're just being overcautious.
And you don't want to look too far ahead. So I'll say, let's say hypothetically they win tomorrow, they move on to the next round against the Cavs or the Magic. Hopefully that Cavs Magic series goes 7 because that gives Porzingis more time to come back. But I think that they're talented enough to beat the Cavs or Magic without Porzingis. Knock on wood, obviously, but yeah, it's unfortunate. I think that they brought in Porzingis for the Heat series more than people think because of that zone that can be successful against. But I think that hopefully, I think it kind of goes understated. Hopefully that Magic Cavs series goes a little longer, so that series starts later and Porzingis can kind of rehab back. But I think they were saying the Eastern Conference Finals is set. And again, I'm not looking to jump a series. I'm just saying, hypothetically speaking, I think they said that Eastern Conference Finals would be set to start around May 20th. So that lines up somewhat with the Porzingis timetable, given no setbacks, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll definitely see. We're allowed to look ahead. The Celtics aren't, though. We're only very small podcasters, so that's but prayers up for Porzingis. Yeah, hopefully he can come back soon. But yeah,
and hopefully Tatum's injury isn't anything serious either. I know he's like a tough guy that likes to go through it, but I mean, what a scumbag Bam is. I mean,
oh my god,
you're supposed to be friends and you're pulling that crap.
Yeah, Tatum looked pissed. Like I know that Dad mentioned it last night. Like when you spike the ball at the end of the game, and then it's just total zero accountability from Bam at the end of the game, and of course that's that fat loser Stan Van Gundy just going off last night on Tatum. Which what the hell was that about? It'd be one thing if he just said, "Oh, Tatum shouldn't have shot the 3," and then moved on. He was venting for a solid 5 minutes and about is Bam not supposed to block that? And he just said. And my whole thing, I just got so annoyed by his logic. He's like, if the play was not dead, this would be a flagrant foul. But since it wasn't, and Bam stepped under him, he should be able to block it. Is he not supposed to block it if it's not? If the play wasn't dead? So, I'm not even I'm trying to justify I'm trying to put his words together, but it was just so everything was just coming out of his butt. It was ugh.
I've been saying it. There wasn't an issue with the contest. You can contest after the whistle shot. It's the fact that you slide your foot under and give him a bump afterwards. That's the whole problem with it. And Heat fans and Fat Van Gundy want to act like that's not the way you look at it. It's ridiculous. And Stan Van Gundy said that I sound a little biased towards the Heat because the Celtics aren't playing well. The Heat had 75 points with 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter. The Heat were playing awful. So I don't understand what about the Celtics defensive game plan was bothering him, but
And I know, yeah, and I know that every fan base says this, about how every national announcer hates their team. But Stan Van Gundy said on national TV that I don't like the Celtics. So again, he said the last part out loud there.
and if you ask Dad why he thinks that, it's because the Celtics kicked the crap out of the Stan Van Gundy all through the 80s and 90s.
That is right. Yep. So, um, yeah, but we have two more games tonight, which are wait, are them tonight? I think. Geez, yeah. Oh, wait, no, that. Okay, this Sixers Knicks is tonight. I know that. So, yeah, pretty sure Pacers Bucks is tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, that'll be like, gee, I should really know that. But yeah, we'll talk about Sixers Knicks real quick.
Magic Cavs tonight too.
That's right. Yeah, yeah, Pacers Bucks tomorrow. That makes yes. There we go.
No, Pacers Bucks tonight too.
Oh,
9:30.
Okay, that's right. Yeah. So, yeah. For whatever reason, I was counting the Celtics as the third game in my head. So yeah, dummy right there. Yeah. So Sixers Knicks tonight. The Knicks took a 3-1 lead on the Sixers on Sunday. It was an awesome game. Jalen Brunson played hands down. I was about to say hands down the best game of the series. It's probably the best game of his career. After playing two of his worst games of his career, of the year, Monday and Tuesday. Games 1 and 2. Played awesome game 3 and played even better game 4. So he's kind of proving that playoff Jalen Brunson very very well might be we might very much slap that label on him very soon. So awesome game from him. I know that John mentioned earlier that the Sixers are really kicking themselves now, wishing that the series was tied at 2-2, given how much they choked away that game too. But I was wondering if you had any other takeaways from the series in general.
Yeah, I think that last week we talked about it. We assumed Jalen Brunson would bounce back.
Oh, yeah.
He's been great all year, and he was great in last year's playoffs. So I don't think it was a lights too bright kind of thing for him. I think he's a great player, and he was going to bounce back, and he did. And you kind of saw he bounced back at the right time because those role players were more of a non-factor than they were in games 1, 2, and 3. So great game from him. Props to him on that. Talking about, I mean, also just to talk about the Knicks overall in general, crashing the offensive boards. I don't know if I think honestly it's an effort thing for the most part. Josh Hart, Hartenstein, these guys crash the offensive boards with authority, and the Sixers, it's kind of sad. Half the time they're just standing around watching. It's put a body on someone. I think I said it last week too. I understand why Sixers fans hate Tobias Harris. That guy stinks. I mean, it's like I don't want to. I mean, let me just say he stinks this series because I don't watch enough of him to make that assumption. But I think it's an effort thing from him too. You see that he's not making shots, he's not boxing out, he's not hustling on fast breaks. I understand why people get frustrated with him. And then just to talk about Joel Embiid, I think you're seeing, again, another playoff series where his reliance on the free throw line does not translate to the playoffs. He caught a pass with like 16 or 17 seconds left on the left wing, about 15 feet out, and he pump faked a wide open mid-range jump shot that would have cut the lead to 2, drove to the rim and threw up some, BS foul baiting layup and missed it, didn't get the foul call, and that was the game. I think that playing that way is not – it will never translate to winning playoff basketball games. And I think if you were to ask me what happens tonight, I would say without hesitation the Knicks take care of business. But, I mean, who knows? The Sixers have played – they lost both games at MSG, but they have played pretty well. All these games, really. They've kept them close. They probably should have won game 2. So I think the Knicks take care of business, but you never know.
Yeah. Embiid has played great this series, but you could tell he's drained, and he's been totally backpacking the entire series. But as you mentioned, not only in the playoffs, but late in game in the playoffs, the refs tend to put the whistle in the pocket. Most of them, not all of them. I mean, some of them like the intention of blowing the whistle at any point, but most of them put the whistle away and let them play. And Joel Embiid, James Harden, not like those are the two names that come to mind. They happen to be teammates last year, but guys that rely on the free throw line, that doesn't translate to the playoffs, and it definitely doesn't happen. You don't really see them adjusting too well to it. So, and it's especially with Embiid, given how injured he is right now. Clearly, he's 100%. I have gained a lot of respect for Embiid. Given how much he's really fighting for in the playoffs. But that being said, my guy is gassed, and even if the Sixers find a way, which I don't think they will, to do to come back 3-1. I think I really think he's going to run out of gas again by the second round, whether it's against the Pacers, who they match up pretty well against, or against a healthy Giannis. So we will see if that happens or not. But I would be completely utterly shocked if the Sixers found a way to even win tonight. Nonetheless, 2 games after that.
Also, shout out to Maxey. He's had a great series too.
Maxey has had a great series, and it's been I shouldn't say backpack because his Robin has been playing really great too, but everyone else has been god awful. So then the other series that is on the brink of elimination is the Pacers versus the Bucks. Pacers are up 3-1 in that series. I, for one, had the Pacers winning this in 6. I know that Matt also did. I think Bridge of the John had the Bucks winning, but that was also assuming that Giannis would be back eventually, and that was also assuming that Dame wouldn't be out for pretty much most of those games. Forgot who it was. I think it was a Bucks. It was like a Bucks beat reporter that said that Giannis is warming up tonight to see if he can make a run at it. If he comes back, you have home court advantage, so the Bucks can definitely steal one, especially if like 60% of Giannis does play. But I don't know. It just feels like they've lost so much momentum. It reminds me of it is reminding me of last year, and super unfortunate that Giannis is injured again. But even last year when the Heat, when the Heat were up 3-1, and Giannis was coming back, and everyone thought that he was healthy, that the Bucks could come back from a 3-1 deficit. But deep down they knew, wow, this series is over, and that's kind of what I'm thinking now. Like again, I'm not going to totally discount Giannis and Dame coming back healthy, but it feels like they've lost so much momentum, especially given how they lost Game 4. It's just like everyone went down, and I just don't see them coming back from it.
Yeah, I did pick the Bucks to win this series, but I figured that Dame would stay healthy and that Giannis would be back by around Game 4. That being said, I agree. I think this series probably is over. I think maybe if Giannis comes back tonight, they snag one at home. Then you go back to Indiana. Maybe Giannis is still playing. Dame comes back. Then you can go on a little bit of a run. But that's like, the 1% chance you're thinking you can make a comeback here. I think that with the Bucks, you can lean on the injury excuse, obviously, because you have Giannis and Dame out. I think that's a viable way for Bucks fans and the Bucks front office to say we would have made a run if these guys were healthy. But at the end of the day, they weren't that impressive this regular season. They had flaws. They had issues. Chris Middleton is not getting younger. Dame is not getting younger. I think, you can use the injuries as an excuse, but I don't really think they were poised to make a deep playoff run regardless. I think they run into a Knicks team next round if they're still healthy, and I think the Knicks win that series. So it's unfortunate what happened with the injuries. It would have been cool to see how it played out with both teams healthy. But I think what you're seeing is a Knicks team who played every single regular season game. They locked up the 2 seed. And now I think they're going to kind of see the benefits of doing that while facing a Pacers team next round if the Pacers do end up winning. Because I think the Knicks could handle the Pacers in round 2.
The Knicks Pacers would be an interesting matchup because I know the Knicks fans were pretty upset at the Tyrese Halliburton and Jalen Brunson comparisons at the beginning of the year. But that being said, what they don't understand is Tyrese Halliburton was better than Brunson at the beginning of the year. I'm not going to change my mind there, but yeah, Brunson has been much better in the playoffs this time around, even though Halliburton has been a great playmaker as well. Had something else I wanted to say. I forgot. Okay. Oh yeah, but I agree with you on the sense that the Bucks were not impressive at all this year. If everyone was healthy, I would have picked them to beat the Knicks, but I know I'm in the minority there. But Giannis, Giannis is kind of saving himself, not himself. Giannis is kind of getting saved this year from his injury. Like, I'm not saying it's a good thing that he got injured, but if not for Kevin Durant, if Kevin Durant decided to wear a shoe size half a foot smaller the night of the 2021 Game 7 Eastern Conference Finals playoffs, Giannis would have a very slightly better player resume than Joel Embiid. That's just wild at the bad. He'd have the 2 MVPs, so he'd still be a top 30-ish player, but people have him in the top 20 now because of his ring, and because of overall dominance. And just since then, he's been disappointing. And people said he played awesome in 2022. And I'll die on the hill. Like Jason Tatum played better than Giannis in 2022. Maybe Giannis played better for the whole series, but games 4, 5, 6, and 7, Tatum played better. So Giannis isn't a great playoff performer, and maybe he would have played. Maybe that would have changed this year, but it just hasn't. So he has had injuries the past 2 years, which kind of has excused him. But if next year comes back and he has and he either gets injured or if he doesn't play as great, things aren't gonna look good for Giannis.
And that being said, you can, if you want to make the injury excuse for the past 2 years for him, then let's make the injury excuse for when he won the championship in 2021, because he had a ton of injury luck when making that run. And I'm seeing a couple people in the comments talking about Tyrese Halliburton and Tyrese Maxey. But Tyrese Halliburton, I agree with the comments. Tyrese Halliburton is the reason why that Pacers offense is so explosive and why they're ranked so high offensively. It'll be interesting to see how they match up. I think the Knicks are a good matchup for what the Pacers can bring. Should be a high scoring series if it does pan out that way.
Right. Oh, geez. Yeah. It's it'll be. Yeah, it's gonna be a lot. Obviously a lot has happened between last episode and this episode. I think we're gonna see a lot even more next episode. Actually, maybe not so much, but definitely in the next couple weeks, given that teams are gonna match up with schedules. But we will see there.
Just to go to Matt's point, Grant Williams outplayed Giannis in Game 7 of the 2022 playoffs. Just an FYI. Grant
Williams, who put up the second best weird Game 7 ever behind Kelly Olynyk. I mentioned, and I'll bring that up every single time someone brings up Grant Williams, which it's no slight to Grant Williams at all. But I feel like anytime that his name gets brought up, you have to bring up Kelly Olynyk too.
Definitely.
It's almost like anytime Durant gets brought up, people like to bring up LeBron, but which I don't mean to disrespect Grant and Olynyk there by bringing up two JV guys, but. To finish off the show, we have 2 more series. Both of those series are even at 2. Both of them are the 4-5 matchups, and I'm not really surprised at all. I'm pretty sure I either had one of or both of the series going 7. Definitely the Mavs Clippers one. I think I had the Magic Cavs one going 7 too. It was either that or 6. We'll talk about the Clippers Mavs given how interesting that one has been. I think the Mavs have been the better team this series. It's especially given that Kawhi played games 2 and 3 and played awful and not awful. He played not much of his level, clearly not 100%. And the Mavs picked up both of those, but meanwhile he didn't play in games 1 and 4, and they won both of those. So I don't know what the Clippers' ceiling is. I don't know what their approach is going to be with Kawhi. If they lose tomorrow night, maybe they try to push him to see Game 6 to see if he can do it. But I don't know. I love Kawhi more than anyone. I do believe that playoff Kawhi is a thing. Given even when he gets injured, it seems like that he always starts off very, very hot and then just falls off. If the Clippers lose the next 2 games and Kawhi doesn't play either of those games, it'll be 4 years in a row now that Kawhi hasn't finished the season with this team, and I just can't put him in the top 10 for that anymore. And it kills me to say that because I love guys that play both sides of the ball. I love guys that rise to the occasion in the playoffs, but Kawhi just hasn't done that the past couple of years. And it's not like he's washed either. The guy, The guy was playing some of his best basketball in his career towards the beginning of the season. I picked him to start the All-Star game and also selected him to make second team All-NBA this year. So yeah, I just don't. Yeah, like it's unfortunate to see, but I spent my rant talking about Kawhi. But do you have any other things to add on to that, John, about the series?
Yeah, I mean, you talked about Kawhi. I'll talk about Paul George. I think Paul George stepped up in a game 4 that could have very well decided the series. With Kawhi out, Paul George took the load, and I think he had 38, 8, and 6. If I correct me if I'm wrong on that, 33, 8, and 6. Sorry, but
Okay.
also 5 stocks as well, 4 steals, 1 block. Just an awesome game from Paul George. We're seeing the comments. Paul George is a national number 1. I think I don't want to say that he plays better without Kawhi, because I think obviously Kawhi makes your life easier, but maybe him with the ball in his hands when his shot's on, when he's seeing the floor better, and he turns into that number 1, maybe it is better sometimes in some games. I will say Luka Doncic is having a underwhelming series. He'll put up the fancy triple doubles that everyone seems to love. I read somewhere on Twitter that he has turned a corner defensively that couldn't be further from the truth. He's still an absolute traffic cone, and he's shooting 38% from the field this playoff series. If he didn't have Kyrie Irving, they would be down in the series, I believe, because I think Kyrie's been having a really, really good series. So props to him. I still think I picked the Clippers to win this series. I still think the Clippers have a path to winning. I think obviously the momentum. I don't even want to say the momentum, but with the history and the injury of Kawhi, a lot of people are siding with the Clippers. I mean, excuse me, with the Mavericks. And the Clippers did have a big lead that they almost gave up in Game 4. But maybe I'm hoping Kawhi comes back and he can be the Kawhi of old. But he's had a couple tough games. He's obviously battling an injury. I still side with the Clippers just because it was my initial pick. But I'm hoping this series goes 7, because it's been exciting to watch.
Absolutely. And yeah, Kyrie's probably he's probably playing like this. This is probably the best series that he's had since. Okay, if you want to include 2021 in the first round, you can include that one. But like if you're talking about it as the first or second option, I would say probably since maybe since he was with the Cavs. Because obviously he didn't play in 2018. Then 2019 was he played solid in the first round against the Pacers when he was with Boston, but that was pretty underwhelming. But yeah, he's played awesome this series, and definitely his best playoff series since the Cavs. If you're not going to include the 2021 Nets series, given how he was the third option and also against an awful Celtics team. So
I have Kyrie stats here: 29, 6, and 4.5 on 51 and 48.5 splits.
Holy shit!
He's playing great
yeah.
series. Hopefully he keeps playing like that, because Luka needs him to. Let's be honest here.
Yeah, there's something about Luka needing elite guards in the next to him. Apparently, other guys that are ball dominant, he actually can play well with, and it's not just the other guys holding him back. But I digress. Yeah, to finish up, the playoff series, we still got one more thing to talk about after that. So yeah, to finish off the last playoff series, we have the Magic versus the Cavs. This was similar to the Thunder Pelicans. This is probably like the least watched series. It's a pretty entertaining series if you look at the entire picture, given how both these teams are very defensive oriented, and the Magic have really seemed to turn a corner. But yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting close. I think it goes 7. And I don't know who wins it, but I think it's going to be a very fun ending to the series, given how great the Magic have played lately. But I don't know what your thought on that is.
Yeah, this has actually been a great series. I watched Game 4 at home on Saturday afternoon. It's been super entertaining. I mean, I think what you're seeing is, and I mentioned it last week, and maybe I could have been a little incorrect or a little reactionary on this take, but I said it wasn't really much 2 good defensive teams as it was 2 bad offensive teams. But what I saw over the past week was two teams that are very good defensively. They play really good on the defensive side of the ball. And when you see one of them kind of go on a run offensively, they hit their shots, then you see a really good team. You saw with the Magic, they were down. I think they were down double digits, and they went on a 17-2 run, I believe it was. And they really, put the foot on the gas. And I think what the unfortunate thing is they do lack offensive talent, right? And as good as they are defensively, uh, that only takes you so far. You do need offensive firepower, especially if you want to make a playoff run. But that being said, I think we kind of got lucky with these two teams facing off against each other, because I think if one of them played the Sixers or one of them ended up playing the Knicks, I think that series is over in five or six. But I think these teams are kind of primed to play against each other, and may the best team win. It's going to. I think it'll come down to seven games.
Yeah. Yeah, I really don't know what to make of the series, because the Magic have been like, I feel like the Magic have, I don't want to say they figured out the Cavs, but they definitely blown them out. They blew them out in both game 3 and 4. I do think that the Cavs can come back, especially given the fact that they have home courts. I think I do trust Donovan Mitchell, as I mentioned. That being said, I do think someone else is going to need to step up. I think that Jared Allen has been great on defense. He's going to have to continue that on. But yeah, I think you go 7. But yeah, Cleveland was my pick, and I do think that Cleveland's going to win in 7. Given that it's going to come back down to the best player in the series. Yeah, but that's it for all the series. But I guess the last thing that we wanted to talk about was which players have, because so we talked about last week, which players do we think are gonna break out this week, since we've seen a good amount of the playoffs already. I think we'll talk about who has impressed us the most. So John, if you want to give me 1 or 2 players that have impressed you the most so far.
So we talked about Kyrie. We went through his stats. He's definitely really
Yeah.
been impressive. I think he's been the best player in that series. But I'm going to give a nice homer take and pick my guy Derek White, who has been phenomenal in his 4 games. I think he got off to maybe a slower start in earlier games, but he's been awesome the past 2 games, especially last night. You saw the 38-point game. Through 4 games, 22 points, 3.5 assists, 3 rebounds. Obviously going to give you 100% on the defensive end. He's going to lock up he's going to play great defense on your best guard. I don't want to get clipped and say he's going to lock up your best guard, but he's going to play great defense. Shooting splits 57 and 47. He's been awesome, and he does it efficiently. He does it quietly. And I, for one, am just very fortunate that Derek White is on my favorite basketball team.
Yes, we are. I think I'm gonna frame my tweets ranting about how the Celtics shouldn't have traded Josh Richardson the day of the trade deadline, and put that on. You can put that on my wallpaper of the worst takes that I've ever had, especially if they go far enough. But I'm gonna go with this is in a way a homer pick for me, because he's been on my agenda for the past couple of years, and we mentioned him in the show for the past few weeks. I'm gonna go with Rudy Gobert. Rudy, I know that he doesn't guard. He didn't guard any of the 3 best players, given the fact that he's a center. He has been the guy that as I mentioned a few weeks ago, even people see shut down big men as big men who shut down the best teams, the team's best big men. That's not what happens. Elite defenders, they tend to anchor. They tend to roam around in the paint and then make sure that nothing happens. It was tough for Devin Booker and Kevin Durant to find a hole, because Rudy Gobert was going to be there to protect the rim. And it's not like he just stands there the entire time. He moves around the rim, and nobody can go there because of how elite he is defensively. I know people like to go offensively, as like when they list off some of these important players. Rudy Gobert was one of the more impressive players in the playoffs this year. I'm not gonna give a number, just because it'd be tough, just because none of the series are finished yet. But Rudy Gobert is my guy for who I'm most impressed by this series. Yeah, shout out before me, as Matt just said. Yeah, exactly.
I think we have to mention also Cat. Cat played a great series. I'm trying to think of I feel like we're missing a couple.
I was going to say both Embiid and Maxey, like as I said earlier. Both of them have been impressive. If you're just adding the entire picture of how tiring it has been for them. I was thinking about SGA as well because it's his first playoff win and he swept them. And one of the youngest guys, not him, but like his teammates being younger too. So yeah, very impressed by them.
We'll see a good test for Rudy when in next round when
that's for sure. Jokic is without a doubt still going to get his, but yeah, Jokic is going to get his, but we'll see we'll see how he angers the rest of it and how everyone else does. But yeah, it's gonna be tough to see. It's always tough to determine how you do against Nikola Jokic. But all right, so that's all we have for today. John, always a pleasure. Thanks for coming on. To finish it off with a couple plugs. Perfect timing. As the banner says, make sure you follow all of McGruper on all social media platforms. This is on X, Instagram, and TikTok. Subscribe to Chill Ton Hoops on YouTube, which is what most of you are probably watching it on right now. We go live every Tuesday at 6, and not only do we go live, we have a bunch of other shows. Chilltown and Tony Sports Fluent. Both of my bosses, they have their own show at 8:00 tonight. Fluent and Chill with Haley, and also some other great shows as well. I was on the Simple Mind podcast with the three Boston guys. I'm going to be on the Creators Hour in the next couple of weeks with Ori, who was on our show a couple weeks ago. Chill Ton Hoops is growing, and it's an awesome thing to see. Just a bunch of creators getting together, and it's been awesome, especially given how I've been able to go live with other people watching. So that's been super cool to see. But again, thank you all for watching, and everyone else have a great night.
Season 5.